Can't not be no audio.
Have you tried?
How about now?
Have you tried unplugging it and plugging it back in?
I just did. So we said all that amazing. Those were the funniest jokes we've ever told on the show.
There you go. Okay, Steve says we're good. So we were showing off the merch.
Okay, Steve says 5x5. I like 5x5. Now I'm strapping a Velcro piece to the microphone stand to tightly hold the cable into the back of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, we were showing off the merch, the T-shirt that says the enemy is filled with chewy nougat, and just a little reminder. You search the Brushfire Mind. I haven't actually tried this on DuckDuckGo. I generally use DuckDuckGo because I hate Google intensely. And yes, I'm using Google Chrome, and I would prefer not to, but wow. Our channel is the first thing that comes up on DuckDuckGo. Our Facebook page, our Rumble, more Facebook stuff.
Daily Motion.
Oh, you actually have to scroll down a bit. It's nothing but our show until this Brushfire literature thing. Wow.
Well, that's the difference between DuckDuckGo and Google, right?
Wow,
there.
you Google us on DuckDuckGo, and we are everything. Apparently, we include DJ Scotty.
Yeah.
That's funny. But
didn't we fix the camera yesterday? Oh no, it's because of this thing. I see what happened.
Oh, what happened?
Don't get distracted. It's fine. See?
Yeah.
Now I'm in the frame. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and post y'all a link in the description to Design by Humans and our merch, and y'all need to buy stuff.
Yeah. So just kind of jump right into it. Remember in the last year of Obama's presidency when Anton Scalia died, one of the towering intellects of law, especially American law, died.
Yeah.
And
there's an interview with Antonin Scalia, and I'm so sorry, buddy. I forget your name, but the guy that does all the interviews with Thomas Sowell about his books, he did one with Antonin Scalia right before he died, and talk about must-watch television. Scalia was a genius, a constitutional scholar, absolutely brilliant man, and funny. Like, he was deeply witty and clever.
Very dry about it, too.
Yeah. And, there may be no higher form of art than witty, dry, clever humor about constitutional law philosophy. That may be the best thing that I've ever experienced.
Anyhow, he died, and then Obama said that he would totally appoint a moderate to take his place so that it would be not controversial.
Because Obama would never lie about anything.
Like,
for example, where he was born. But I digress.
Whoa, that's not the pun I was going to make. There was Obamacare jokes there. And he decided that he would nominate Merick Garland, who, just unfairly did not get his chance, and it was unfair, and it was awful, and it was terrible, and, all those things.
Yeah, all those things.
All those things.
There's the link. So Mario, go buy a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Also, text me your address so I can send you a different T-shirt.
Fair enough. Well, now Merick Garland has had his redemption. Obama's vice president, Joe Biden. I mean, it's true. Yeah, it's true. Obama's vice president, Joe Biden, has made Merick Garland the district attorney. And that's...
I think you mean the attorney general, but yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, no, I meant the attorney general. I need more coffee.
AG. AG Merick Garland directs FBI to target disturbing spike in school board threats. Okay.
Hey, wait, before you tear into it, before we even get into it, you know what this reminds me of? The lost children
Both of the white supremacists.
No,
that
the
were
lost
greatest
children.
threat?
No, the lost children of Rockdale County. When we were kids, and we had
you're
the
gonna go there.
300% spike in cases of STDs.
Okay,
among
just to be clear, I moved to Conyers the year after this happened.
And apparently I have a cameo in the special that I didn't even know about. And still, 30 years later, 25 years later, comes back to haunt me. Yes. So, but what happened was, and I forget the exact numbers, but basically Rockdale County had a 300% spike in STDs with kids. And yeah, well, that's awful. It's a 300% STD spike among a certain age group. It went from like 20 cases of gonorrhea to like 60 cases of gonorrhea. So, yeah, it was a 300% spike, sure. But when you actually looked at the raw numbers, you just went, oh, that's really actually not that bad. Especially when you're talking about thousands and
Basically,
thousands.
3 kids had it that year instead of the one that had it the year before.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think this is the same thing here. This disturbing spike in school board members getting threatened.
Wow, the Lost Children of Rockdale County won a Peabody Award?
Well, yeah. And are
Wow.
you really surprised by that? I'm not.
Do we know this chick?
No. Or at least I don't. Maybe somebody else does, but that's not the point. The point is...
I know.
The point is, yeah, there could have been a spike in school board threats, but since our side of the aisle tends not to engage in fiery but peaceful protests, on the super rare occasion that it actually happens...
Real quick, Steve said he thought it was syphilis. It was gonosyphilis herpes.
Oh my, I'm not even going to address that. That's a fantastic comment, though, Mario.
Well played.
And yeah, Steve, it might have been syphilis. The point is that there was the spike in STDs, but when you looked at the raw numbers, it actually wasn't anywhere near as bad as they would have you believe. And I think it's the same thing here. AG Merick Garland directs FBI to target disturbing spike in school board threats. I mean, did we go from like 5 threats to 12? I mean, assuming that this is not like a Jussie Smollett all the way through, and there's actually no spike at all.
No, but David, I knew a chick once who was dating a meth dealer, and she found out he was a meth dealer because he was hiding his meth at the bottom of the cereal boxes, and all her teeth fell out.
Okay.
Apparently that shit is toxic. It just leached into the cereal. She didn't even know.
Yeah.
And I laugh, and I'm sorry, sweetheart, to laugh at you. In your poor teeth, but there is humor there. Oh. So.
But unless this is now that we're back on track, unless this is a Jussie Smollett situation and there's actually no threats at all, which is not terribly unreasonable.
Right. Parents, like, we have not heard a lot of reporting that parents were making threats to school board members. We're just suddenly told that that's happening. Right, suddenly, if there had been reporting, if there had been active conversation about it, and then the FBI said they were going to do something about it, that would be one thing. But even if that were the case, Tim Pool was talking about this. You're talking about things you're talking about local school boards, right? This is the same as the FBI getting involved in a bar fight. There was a bar fight. That's not a federal issue, right? Anything happening at school boards, not a federal issue.
They take federal dollars.
Yeah.
That's how the federal government hooks you, man. Those
Vote
federal
Lowry
dollars.
2024. Arm the people and fire everybody. Like, that's my platform. Arm the people, fire everybody.
Yeah, but you can't run for all 500 and something positions of Congress simultaneously. You can only run for the one here. Though you could...
I could run for president.
That's true.
And fire everybody.
Let's start by tipping over Hank Johnson. Okay.
Seriously, if I were to run for and get elected president, I'd probably be assassinated. But day one, I would just walk around Washington and say, "Hey, you! Were you elected?" No, sir. You're fired! Fired!
Yeah. So, do you think these threats came at like 2 o'clock in the morning when it was below freezing while Merrick Garland was out trying to buy a Subway sandwich?
Oh, God, the thumbnail should have been Merrick Garland wearing a fake noose. Couple of Nigerian FBI agents with bottles of bleach.
And look, it's not like that there are not public officials being threatened, while they're trying to take a piss, if your name happens to be Kirsten Sinema.
So, and I'm glad you mentioned Kirsten Sinema, because that's part of what we want to talk about this morning. Okay. What we're seeing happen here is the Democrats are closing the tent. They're shrinking it down. They're shoving the Overton window as far to the left as they can. So you get somebody like Kirsten Sinema. I'm not a big fan of Senator Stripper Boots, but she is kind of throwing a wrench in the works for the enemy.
Any port in a storm.
I got to.
That's actually a terrible expression. Apparently, if it's a bad enough storm, you stay at sea and ride it out, because being in the port will put you close to shore, and big waves can just slam you right into the shore. But that's neither here nor there.
I'm sure it works the same way with Stripper Boots, but she's not exactly antagonistic to the Democratic Party, but she's at least going far enough to virtue signal on fiscal responsibility that she's preventing them from just straight saying, you know what, we're going to go ahead and spend $3.5 trillion. $3.5 trillion is psychotic. Well, there's all these people we want to help. Okay, for one, you're lying.
There's all these people you want to enslave. Man, it goes back to that federal dollars thing.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, that's your federal dollars right there. It's a fucking fish hook.
Right. Well, go back and look at all the COVID stimulus packages, where they spend X, and 25% of it is stimulus to citizens, where the rest of it is it's not even the rest of it is, oh well, our infrastructure problem is becoming untenable as a result of lockdowns and layoffs, or the supply chain is in trouble and we need to subsidize some stuff to buttress supply. No, it's going to Pakistani gender studies.
Well, how much money right here in Rockdale County just went unspent because people simply did not understand that stimulus money was right there available for them?
It didn't go unspent.
Excuse me. It did go... Well, finish, but yeah, you're about to make my point.
It didn't go unspent. It went unallocated. And it's an important distinction, because it also did not go unconfiscated. That money was still confiscated at gunpoint involuntarily from each and every one of you, and then allocated to the smaller communities. And like in Rockdale County, like most small communities around this country, which is one of the reasons that we had millions of small businesses just go tits up and disappear, there was no dissemination to the small business owners how to even apply for that money. I mean, there was some, but it was limited, and it was not done as part of the program. You could have taken all the money that was spent on frickin' Pakistani gender studies and just paid me to make a video to send out to everybody that said, this is how you begin the application process so that you can get your piece of this money that we stole on your behalf. Instead, what happened is the money got sent to the local municipalities, and then when the local businesses didn't know how to apply for it, they took everything that they didn't spend to subsidize those local businesses, and it went back into the local governments. In Rockdale County, it went to it went into the police department and the fire department, and stuff like that. But it's kind of like how when you hire a public defender, and then if you lose your case, you have to reimburse them for the court costs.
Continue.
The enemy is being paid, actively incentivized to do their job poorly. The local government actually profits as long as the local businesses that were supposed to benefit from that money don't apply to receive that money. So the less of that money goes out in the way that it was intended to, the more of it can be illicitly reallocated to government programs within that small government. Now, I haven't seen the receipts from within the Rockdale County in particular spending pattern, so I'm only aware of a few of the places that money went, but the places that I know it to have gone do not cover totally the amount of money that was misallocated by the irresponsible handling of that received federal tax money.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at, you got Merick Garland sending the FBI to harass parents who are going to school board meetings and saying, no, you don't get to tell my children that being white is bad. You don't get to tell my little boy that he needs to cut his penis off. You don't get to tell my children that they're inadequate because of the color that they were born. You don't get to subject my children to your Democrat segregation horseshit with a black national anthem and segregated lunch tables and ethnic concentration groups.
Well, in this case in particular, you don't get to tell my child that they are inherently a bad person because they don't want to wear a mask.
Right.
That's one of the big things that parents are complaining about. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, you and I have 4 kids. We talk about this a lot. As soon as they said kids were going to have to wear masks all day long in school, I laughed and laughed. It's like, good luck with that shit.
And one of the things, you know what Fauci said about the masks early on, is he actually said the masks put you at greater risk because when you're wearing a mask, you can't help but touch it and readjust it over and over again, and that exposes you to more contaminants. That was Fauci.
Watch people wearing masks out in public.
Oh
watch
yeah, well, there was a fantastic video of AOC that came out around the same time where she was given the same
tucking
message.
Her hair behind her ears.
Oh my God! I think it was Crowder that did it, where they showed that clip and they ran a counter, and it was
Ward.
like 37 times in 1 minute that she touched her face while she was talking about her mask and how important it is that you not touch your mask.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what they're. See, our chat is so fantastic that it slightly derailed me again. Now, what's funny is the FBI could totally target all sorts of people that are willing to engage in, let's say, fiery but mostly peaceful protests.
Oh, Maxine Waters.
Yeah, and I was going there too. But please go ahead.
Well, we saw Maxine Waters, scream. Oh my God, that woman's voice. I applaud her for those fantastic Stetsons that she wears. They're awesome. But dear God, that voice. She looks bad in them. She looks awful.
Doesn't wear Stetsons? That's the other one.
That's the other one.
That's the other one.
I get them confused. They all look alike to me. It's the horns.
Okay. All right. Oh.
I have a difficult time distinguishing, violent.
No, I understand.
Abyssally originated.
So specifically, what we're talking about is early on in Trump's presidency, Maxine Waters made the statement when she was all impeach 45 and all that. One of the things that she said that people should do is follow people around, harass them, make them feel unwelcome. If you see them at a restaurant, tell them they're a loser at the restaurant.
Shark Pants Nadler. I gotta give you that one, David.
Yeah. Don't let them feel as though their actions are okay. Well, now the left has continued this activity. It's just they've started to target people like Kirsten Sinema with it. And I bet the Venn diagram overlap between the people that would target Kirsten Sinema
They're the same people.
Yeah.
It's not like suddenly you've got right-wing extremists who are concerned about the way that Kirsten Sinema votes on the Build Back Better bill. She's being targeted by the same people that were doing that sort of violence at the explicit direct instruction of Maxine Waters and others, to include AOC and the rest of the squad. And even, most importantly, Vice President Spitroast. She actively said, we need more of this. Right? She demanded more violence in the streets. Now, Legion, you're rebreathing your own journey, blah, blah, blah. Also, what psychological effect does the mask have on the socialization of preschoolers? We've talked about this. I don't know if we've actually gotten into this on the show. But we've talked about this. We shot a wedding earlier this year. It was a beautiful wedding. It was a very expensive wedding.
Yes.
Had a lot of vendors there, ourselves included. Mm-hmm. We were a 4-man film crew, which is a large film crew for a wedding usually. And we shot the shit out of it. Made a great video out of that wedding. All the vendors were wearing masks, and the patrons, the audience, the bride, the grooms were not, right? And it definitely had this feel of, okay, these are the privileged, and these are the serfs. And you look at things like Obama's birthday party recently. You look at Hollywood award ceremonies, stuff like that. What was it? It wasn't the Oscars. It was the other one that just happened a couple of nights ago. But you look at these award ceremonies, and like everybody there, the elites and the staff alike are all vaccinated, and the staff are still required to wear masks, but the elites are not. Same thing at the Met Gala. Thank you, David. At the Met Gala, same thing, right? All the beautiful people are unmasked. All the people at the Capitol with their little champagne flute of stuff that makes you vomit so you can eat more.
Yes, I read the Hunger Games.
All the Hunger Games Capitol elites.
Read, didn't see the movies. Read the books.
I didn't read the books. I saw the movies. Anyway, the staff are wearing masks. That's the psychological effect of the masks. Is if you're going to a public school and you graduate from a public school, and you did not graduate from a very expensive private school, and not just any private school, but a very small select number of private schools that only accept a certain number of a very certain class of people, then you will wear your Star of David strapped to your face for the rest of your life.
Yeah, Winston Smith in the chat.
I mean mask.
I understood. I feel like our audience did as well. They're generally highly intelligent people.
We might as well be getting our Social Security numbers tattooed under our fucking lower lips.
Anyhow, Winston Smith posts something in the chat about how Merrick Garland's daughter is married to the co-founder of a company selling critical race theory resource materials. Oh, you hadn't heard this?
I had not heard that. Wow, that's almost like Frau Haugen, the Facebook whistleblower, having also been one of the part of the censorship machine that censored the Hunter Biden laptop story.
It's not exactly the same thing because Frau Haugen would have censored...
You're right, it's not exactly the same thing because apparently Garland's daughter wasn't directly involved in election tampering.
Well, no. Well, I was just going to say that it was different because there's a financial motivation.
Coordinated, extended, significant election tampering. I'm not talking about voter fraud.
Oh, I know.
I'm talking about the crime of fraud generally.
Yeah, no, I'm tracking. And while I'd love to go down that rabbit hole, we're Alex points out, and by the way, good morning, Alex. Alex pointed out a little bit earlier in the chat, this guy was almost a Supreme Court justice.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, screw him. But I think what's at least part of his motivation here, while it does intersect politically, this also helps make his family rich. Because one of the things, and you pointed it out in your rant at the beginning, that I don't know. You pointed it out in your rant at the beginning that one of the things that parents have a problem with is the critical race theory stuff. Like, oh, well, you're white, so you're bad. And that's just not true. In fact, that's racist. Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you're told you have an immutable characteristic and that automatically affects your personality, that is indeed racist. And I don't want my kids being taught that for a couple of reasons. Like, when you victimize somebody, as in you change their brain to the victim mentality, you potentially break them for life, and then they need a hero for life. Or it's like the stuff with, remember when we were kids, it was all about the environment and climate change and all that. Well, that's running out of gas, I think. This is just my pet theory, that is running out of gas, because for years and years and years now, we've heard, okay, in 5 or 10 years, or 5 or 15 years, or 10 or 15 years, like the Al Gore movie came out when we were kids, and Al Gore did his dramatic thing with the CO2 levels.
And he was wrong about everything.
And he even said we've got 10 years to save this planet from a scorching. And Rush Limbaugh actually put a clock on his website. Bless you, Rush. Rest in peace. Rush Limbaugh actually put a clock on his website that literally counted down the entire 10 years. For 10 years, you could log on to Rush Limbaugh's website, and at the top of the website was the 10-year timer that Al Gore put in. Okay, so the point of the climate change when you brainwash kids when they're young is you can make them feel bad about doing things that they would normally do, like driving a car, like getting a job, like choosing to eat at a certain restaurant or eat a certain food in your own home,
or having a free thought,
or having a free thought. But then you give them a way out. You say, okay, but if you will change your behavior the way the big smart people say that you're supposed to, you are now a good person. You can feel good about yourself. Well, that's run out of gas, because there's guys like you and I that'll pull up like the Leonard Nimoy documentary from the 70s where they said that the Earth was going to enter into a new ice age, which it will one day. It's scientifically almost certain.
That documentary said that we were going to enter into a new ice age in the 80s. Like, that's when it was going to happen.
I don't remember it being the 80s.
It was 80s or not, but it was kind of like an inconvenient truth. You know, the only thing inconvenient about your truth is that it isn't.
Our chat's even pointing out the ozone hole. Okay, and yes, the ozone layer was supposed to be the end all be all. We were all going to cook ourselves and get skin cancer and die because we had no more ozone layer, which, by the way, would be true. Losing the ozone layer would be fucking terrible. It would.
Yeah,
okay?
it would.
That would be a bad day. But
it's like you ever find yourself smoking a cigarette and blowing bubbles, because then the bubbles pop and the smoke.
No.
That's what it's like to lose the ozone layer. Anyhow, but I think this is the critical race theory is the new version of it. Okay. We can't use the climate science anymore to make people feel bad good thing. That's right. That was my Joe Biden impersonation. I had this great board game upstairs called Caveman Poetry, or Neanderthal Poetry.
Right. And I'd be good at it. But critical race theory is the new thing because, and this is why it's key, you can never change the color of your skin. Theoretically, we could reach the point scientifically where we could command the weather on this planet. We're not there yet. The technology that even allows us to envision how to get there barely even exists. But theoretically, we could do that.
Well, now, we talked about cloud seeding and
but
initiating rainstorms and the like.
But you can't change the color of the skin you were when you were born. And if you're a victim based on the color of your skin when you're born, you get all the brainwashing that comes from climate science.
Right, even if you actually change the color of your skin,
you were still born white, born black or whatever, and all the privileges and negatives that come along with it.
And as long as you're white, you get to inherit the sins of your father. But if you're a criminal alien, if you're the descendant of a criminal hostile foreign invader, then
you get
that's not your fault. You're a dreamer.
You're a dreamer. Dream a little dream. But yeah, and I think parents are pushing back on that. I think just because they are not able to articulate what it is that they intuitively, on a gut emotional level, know is wrong about critical race theory, they know something is wrong with it. They know something is wrong with it, so they go in and they bitch at their school board. And here's the thing that's important about the school board. You know these people. They are your neighbors. That's the whole thing about politics being local. So if you want to say that it's a big grand conspiracy and Merrick Garland is a shitburger that wants to increase authoritarian regimes, that works. And if you want to say Merrick Garland is a shitburger and he's trying to set up a sweetheart deal for his family so that, his grandchildren will be rich, that also tracks. And it could be some of both.
Yep. All of this taken together, and we need to wrap this up and put a point on it. All of this taken together, the shrinking of the Democrat tent, moving the Overton window further and further to the left, pushing people out of the left. Liberals get the bullet too. And Garland actually using the FBI. I hesitate to say weaponizing the FBI because that almost suggests that the FBI had not already been weaponized.
Yes.
In service of exterminating people who have the wrong think, which is clearly the case.
But they can't catch Brian Laundrie.
Nope. But actively targeting and attempting to censure and censor parents who have concerns about their children being coerced into perversion, depravity, and racism. All of this taken together, you should find it terrifying. This active erosion of your First Amendment. They've come for your freedom to speak. They've come for our freedom of press. They've come for our freedom to assemble. Right? So the left can have their BLM riots and they can firebomb courthouses and murder people on the street for no more than wearing a hat that supports their opposing party, right? But on the right, you're being told that you shouldn't even go to church. Can't go to church. Can't get together for Christmas, right? You'll remember when Obamacare was first coming out, the Obama administration and their propaganda wing ran these propaganda pieces that were telling you that you needed to talk to your family about the importance of health insurance, about the right to health care.
Oh, yeah, the uncomfortable Thanksgiving conversations.
Yeah. Well, they're so scared to death that you're going to get together with your family and hear somebody express the wrong think that now they're going to suggest that you can't even go. You can't gather for Christmas because you might be exposed to somebody who has, thoughts. Keep an eye out. It will not be long before we start seeing a variant that is extra spready and extra dangerous, and you're totally going to get it if you go to a sporting event where you might be tempted to say, "Let's go, Brandon."
I was just about to make that joke. Thank you, sir.
These, and they're going to, so they've come for your freedom of speech, they've come for your freedom to assemble, they've come for your freedom of press. They are going to come for your freedom to petition the government. They are going to start referring to petitions to the government to redress grievances as terrorism.
Hate speech. That's going to be their back door. Hate speech.
They're going to call it a threat. They're going to say that by petitioning the government for a redress of grievances, what you are doing is threatening to conduct an insurrection with a large number of people. That number of people being those who signed your petition. That's coming. That will happen before the end of next year.
We might as well go ahead and call it the January 6th hate speech clause.
Well, that's going to be the end result of the January 6th commission.
Oh, I'm tracking. That's one of those things that was a joke, but not really. And just real quick before we go, David says healthcare is a human right unless you're unvaccinated. Patient in Colorado denied kidney transplant list until vaxxed. I saw that
too.
I saw that on Twitter. I haven't been able to go down that rabbit hole, and neither is Chris. That's why we didn't talk about it as part of this conversation. And it didn't really fit in because it was more about making fun of Merrick Garland and.
Oh, and just real quick before we cut this off, speaking of things that I just haven't had the time to go down the rabbit hole on yet, apparently the proposed minting of $1 trillion coin by the U.S. Mint is not the B.
'Cause sure, it's $1 trillion coin.
I take it back. It is not the Babylon B. It probably is in not the B.
Right. No, it's front page on Drudge. Look it up. Yeah. It's on the front page of Drudge, the $1 trillion coin. We've got to, look, I know we're long, but we've got to actually address the underlying issue and the budget fight itself. We've got to. Maybe Cocaine Mitch will do something clever and we can give him a toter win tomorrow.
Yes, Steve. As a heart attack.
Yes, Steve. Seriously, look at the front page of Drudge. $1 trillion coin. But yeah.
PT Danny says Zimbabwe has one. You know what Zimbabwe doesn't have?
$1 trillion?
Or food. So, all right. Guys, y'all be safe out there, and we will see it tomorrow. Wait. Mike says FBI being utilized to investigate parents disagreeing with school boards. That was the whole show, Mike. Where you been, brother? We'll see y'all tomorrow.